had this call, so it was just enough
We're
time
live.
we're live. Hello,
Enough time to
hello,
get
hello,
yourself
James.
ready for
To get ready for the call while having enough sleep,
reasonable.
getting all the
Sleep
things
is
done,
important.
coffee ready. Sleep's very important.
It
Get
turns
eight
out I didn't
hours,
need
very
coffee.
important.
I need water, not coffee. I've
Okay,
already had
good.
2 coffees today.
All right.
So,
So
creative
it's
sessions,
already, yes.
nearly 2023. How's that
I
work?
only the as my of course I had lofty ambitions to prepare for this call, and I did not, of course. And I did just before we started, like right now, open the open my page on my Roam, my note-taking app, which has the page that I called completing last year and creating this year. So I can browse a little bit through that. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I was just thinking, what would you have done to prepare for today, this conversation?
Well, I could have like looked back at my journal for the year, looked back at what I said was going to happen this year. We're
Okay,
going to do it in the calls, so it's not too bad.
it's
Plus,
not
I
too
don't
bad.
usually prepare for this calls, of course.
Exactly. That's part of the fun. Part of the fun,
Yes,
not
exactly.
all of the fun.
Talking
But
to a non-existing audience.
I'm feeling not as good as you because of the sheer amount of written material that you've stuck in your brain this year.
In terms of books, you mean?
You read 22, right? It was 22.
Oh
That's the
yeah.
plan, wasn't
So
it?
this is where I'm at.
Let's start there.
I'm a little stuck with my last book. Well, it won't be my last. It's going to be my penultimate, I think.
Wow.
But I thought it was a very small book, like the Communist Manifesto, and it actually turns out to be bigger than that. So I'm close to done. And it's quite interesting, actually. It's a little bit annoying because it's written in a quite pamphletic manner, if that makes sense.
Yep.
I'm reading What is Anarchism, that originally was titled The ABC of Anarchism by Alexander Berkman. That is a manual that is not that big, but much bigger book than I thought,
Okay.
because I thought it was going to take me a couple of hours to read it, and it's taking me much longer.
Is it good?
Yeah, it's pretty good. So it's very good.
Uh-huh.
It's particularly good that it was written in 1929, and to
Hmm.
hear and read the observations of somebody about politics, about the state of the world, about the state of the economy in 1929, almost 100 years ago to today, is fascinating. Super interesting.
Is
The
it
thing that's a
different?
little bit annoying about the way that the book is written is that it's written with a lot of rhetorical questions.
Okay.
So there's a lot of simplified stuff, and the first half of the book is why you should basically be interested in anarchism, which has a lot of interesting stuff, but sometimes a little bit annoying that do you think, I mean, it just feels like you're talking. So it's a book written for everybody to understand political stuff, so it's quite
Hmm.
simplified, which is good. On the other hand, just like have all the rhetorical questions, is kind of, it gets annoying, so it feels like the author's talking down at me, the reader, all the time.
Okay.
Rather than just
Okay.
saying what he has to say, he's putting everything as questions. Don't you think this? Don't you think this? I'm like, I'll just stop doing that. It's really annoying, if that makes sense. I should actually get a passage. But right now, it is really interesting. All right, there you go. So did you ever ask yourself how it happens that government and capitalism continue to exist in spite of all the evil and trouble they're causing in the world? So towards the first, there's a little bit less in the second half, but the first half. And now, what makes government exist? The armies and the navies? Yes, but only apparently so. What supports the army and navies? It is the belief of the people. So it's just like constantly there's questions like that all the time that is just a little bit annoying, rather than just tell me what you have to say. It's just,
That almost
does that
sounds
make
like
sense?
it's a speech.
That's why it is. It's pamphletic. It's very, well, obviously it's a political thing. But super interesting. Also super interesting to read, in particular, the whole part about the Russian Revolution and the
Uh-huh.
author's perspective on the Russian Revolution only less than 10 years after,
Yeah,
because
really
it was
close.
1917 and he writes this in 1929. and he was he and they, not the only one, were extremely clear that it was a bad thing in a dictatorship already
Mm.
at that time, which was surprising because I thought that there was a whole long period, but maybe it was propaganda in the 50s and 60s that
Oh,
changed
it was
people's minds
communism.
about communism.
Yeah.
So he was saying that actually communism is not what I'm talking about. And this is what happened during the Bolshevik Revolution. So he goes over the whole revolution and explains why that's not what he believes in. And the thing that's wrong with it is that they created a revolution to end up with another dictatorship, and a brutal one at that. And I was like, I didn't realize that people knew that it was a brutal dictatorship already just after like a few years after it started. Also because I haven't been reading and I haven't been delving in textbook history for a while. But yes, it is very interesting. And I think you'd be hard pressed to not agree that anarchism is a really good idea when you start reading the book. I think you'd still be left with enormous amounts of doubt as to whether it's possible, or
And whether it's
probably
workable.
most people would think it's not possible.
Yeah.
But it does a really good job of dispelling what it is. And so it's the first half of the book is about what it's not, like what anarchism is not, and why you should be interested in it, and the evils, and what he thinks is the evils of capitalism. And then but other political systems and other source of power. So he has a chapter about religion, he has a chapter about government, chapter about where are you going to put your trust, and just breaking little by little every bit of that. But sorry, I originally wanted to go back to my book list. It's worth reading, definitely, and it's considered to be the main easiest introduction to anarchist literature, just explaining the principles of it. And it's out of, so I got it for free on the Gutenberg project.
Okay, of course.
So for anybody who doesn't know, if ever you're listening, because copyright, when a book is out of copyright, right? Like 70 years after the author's death, I believe.
Yeah.
Something like that. So technically it's in the public domain. So there's a project that has started to put all the books that are in the public domain available for everybody as ebooks on the Gutenberg Project's website. And so it's a really great resource to buy, not to buy because it's all free, but you can donate to it to get classics and we'll read them freely. So just like I've just downloaded it and put it on my Kindle. I was interested to read about anarchism, interested to read a little bit about politics. I started interested in reading little books, small books that just increase my book count.
Yeah,
but this one actually turns out to be bigger than I thought. So
yeah,
I have lists, and so one thing that was great this year is I have lists for all the movies I watched, all the books I read.
Graphic novels, comics, games.
Yeah, graphic novels, comics, mangas, and I had objectives that I haven't done. So the one I'm reading right now is my 22nd book. I've read 21 so far, and I'm reading a lot of novels that don't take a lot of time to read. I've read 13 novels and 8 nonfiction, and I've read 21 graphic novels and mangas mixed together. Yeah, well, a lot of them don't take a lot. So mangas are small, really don't take a lot of time to read. But I'm off my count, and I want to read what my objective was, or is rather.
It's 22, right?
26. 22 books. Okay. So my objective is originally, but I changed it a little bit. 22 books that I count as novels and nonfictions. And then I said 11 large graphic novels and mangas, like collections or large ones, 15 small ones. But then then it was a little bit difficult to just decide which one was small or big. So I just kind of like putting them all together now. And 4 role-playing game books, which I haven't really done. I've started a couple, but I didn't finish them.
Did you have anything about games?
About
games or gaming?
No, I'm taking it. I have been keeping track of what I'm playing, more or less, but I didn't have an objective necessarily.
Because I remember
it's an interesting one. That's an interesting one for next year. An objective on games.
Yeah, because I remember you saying there were particular games that you were playing that you
Uh-huh.
immersed yourself in, and they were really like indie games. A lot. You were playing a lot of indie games, weren't you? I
Oh
keep
yeah,
meaning.
I started playing Ori and the Light. I can't remember what the name is. Ori and wait, let me find it.
I keep meaning to get Dead Cells. I'm
Oh, it's
worried.
so good. I did another run on Dead Cells.
I'm worried if I start playing it, then I won't do anything.
Yeah, well, you're correct. Ori and the Blind Forest is called. It's the first one because there's a
Okay.
second one that came out. It's a Metroidvania. You familiar with the term?
No,
Metroidvania category of games. Have you played Metroid or Castlevania? Do you
I've played
remember those?
I'm pretty sure I've played Metroid. So let me guess. Is Metroid just one screen where you're
No,
shooting? Is that what Metroid is?
no.
No. Okay. Then what's Metroid?
Metroid is you're playing a bounty hunter called Seamus Aran in a whole big armor, and you're wandering around levels. It's 2D. And the reason why they're called Metroidvania, because in the same style as Metroid and Castlevania, it's 2D side scrolling with
Yeah.
large maps, and little by little there are areas that you can't reach, but then you earn new capabilities that allow you to double jump,
Okay.
jump higher to reach new areas, and you
Okay.
have to go back and forth like to all the different areas to complete it.
Castlevania is that kind of side-scrolling platforming
Side-scrolling
puzzle.
platforming monsters. Metroid is the same kind of style. It's sci-fi, whereas Castlevania is you're a vampire
Horror.
hunter hunting Dracula, and he has a whip and then swords. He has a bunch of different weapons. But
Was
so
Metroid
Ori
was
and
Metroid the
the
first one?
Blind Light, oh,
Was Metroid the first kind of
of the
that game?
two,
Yeah.
um, I'm not sure, but it it's famous for I don't know. The two of them are famous enough together to bear the name for the genre, if that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, that makes sense.
So
So
it's a style of 2D fighting side-scrolling platforms.
I played a few of those games when
So I
on
started
my
playing Hollow Knight, which is so the two there's a few that are really famous on indie games. Hollow
Mhm.
Knight is one of them, but it also has a reputation for being very hard, but huge. And so I started playing this one, and I'm stuck at the second boss. And that one is a little bit more oriented towards combat and rough combat, and you die a lot. And I'm playing one Ori, which I prefer in terms of graphics and everything. The style, the genre is quite colorful and nice. And that's a little bit more platforms, which I prefer. Still very difficult, but different kind of difficulty. There's not
because I
really
remember
bosses.
I
It's
used to
just like
play.
complex like platforming section
I played.
things where you just keep dying over and over again.
Yeah, I played Rick Dangerous 2 quite a lot.
I don't know
If
what
you
that
remember
is.
that, Rick
What
Dangerous
platform was that on?
that that was on my Amstrad CPC
Oh, right.
464.
Yeah, I didn't have an Amstrad. I played at
That
friends' places, but
that was, but that's and Switchblade as well. That was another kind of platformy, puzzly, and even the Total Recall computer game as well was a bit like that too. You had to
probably
work
was.
out
Huh?
like, yeah, it was side scrolling. Had to work out. You had to work out, and Prince of Persia, but that was not 2D.
Yeah, Prince of Persia was great. I remember that.
Love Prince of Persia. So that kind of puzzly,
All right.
working out what you got to do, kind of vibe thing. Yeah.
What does Wikipedia say about Metroidvania? It's pretty much what I said. It's a subgenre of platform video games focused on guided non-linearity and utility-gated exploration and progression. Very specific. The term is a portmanteau of the names of video games series Metroid and Castlevania, with games in the genre borrowing from both series. Typically based on two-dimensional side-scrolling platform gameplay, large interconnected world map, the world the player can explore,
Yeah.
although parts of the world will be inaccessible to player until they
That's
acquire
exactly
special
what you
items,
said.
tools, weapons, abilities, etc. Yep. Yep.
Turrican was another one I
Um,
played as well.
mm.
That was
So
huge, that
Metroid
game.
1994, so that's later probably. 1986, sorry, the first Metroid
Oh, okay.
game.
All right. Yeah. Yeah.
86, so yeah. So Yeah, I noted the games and video games I read, and a lot of my books this year were it's the 13 novels. A vast majority were the same series, which is quite funny.
Dresden.
Yes, exactly. Books, mangas. Let's put it here.
Let's see. What about one?
Dresden Files. Yes. I need to update my graphic novels. I haven't updated that in a while. And I started with a little one with the Communist Manifesto, and I'm ending with the Anarchist Handbook. Well, what is anarchism, rather? Sorry. I also read, a lot of the novels, and then I started. So novels are mostly the Dresden Files, and I have 2 or 3 more to read. I did read one classic, in folklore. Was it this year?
Oh
I
yeah,
read
you
folklore?
did. Yeah, I remember you talking about that.
Yes, I read Light in
American.
August. So one classic. I read a French novel. I read a few other small essays. And I started reading another big series, which is the Expanse, which is really good. I've
Oh
read
yeah, because you said
the
that
first
was
3
like
ones
that's the TV
out of
serial
the
one, right?
9. Yeah. Yep,
Because
yep, yep.
I,
And
looking at my list, I finished my, I've read 12. I wanted to do 22, and
you're a little bit off the mark, but I kept
I
telling
mean,
you to
yeah,
read novels. You have
that
to read novels,
yeah.
otherwise
But
you
what's
don't.
interesting is out of my 12, 6 are novels and 6 are
Uh-huh.
non-fiction, which is interesting. I finished
Why is
2
it interesting?
because normally I read mostly non-fiction. I'm skewed
How
that
come?
way.
So is it? I've really spent purposeful effort to keep up with my reading.
Yeah, you
Although,
did. You
and I
have.
said I did read really easy to read novels that I just devoured,
Well, I
and
did
then a few
read.
more difficult and intense nonfiction. Like I'd like to do that next year. I'd like to read The History of Debt by David Graeber.
What did I read? I read.
And or the Capital in the 21st Century, the Piketty book. I'd quite like to read that, but both of them are very big, like they're really big tomes.
Yeah, Piketty's
So
really good. I mean, I read The Grey Man, which I read really fast. That's a novel. The
yeah, so it's that kind of stuff because it's a thriller, right?
but I did also read 2 of the first. So I finished the first 3 Dune novels,
Oh
and
yeah,
I
that's
read
right.
2 of them this year, and so good, so good, so good. But I don't think I'm going to read any more just for now because
Okay.
by all the people I know who've read a lot of Dune, they all say the first 3 is those are the really good ones. And then I also read The Night Manager, John le Carre, which was really good. Just finished
Yeah,
that
that's
one.
right. I remember that.
Really,
But do you
really
think you're off your mark
intensely.
from an objective standpoint because you prioritized what? I mean, I guess you prioritized other stuff, but what do you think? Well,
It's a good question. I
and
think
how does it compare with last year's book
so.
count?
Last year I read
You read
20.
more last year, didn't you?
Yeah, I read 21. I read a lot of. I had graphic novels in there. That's why. But even then, that would have increased it by. I had a few short books. I read A Christmas Carol, The Communist Manifesto. I think it was. I think this year more intense on both sides,
Mm.
fiction and non-fiction. I think that's probably what it is. Because The Night Manager is a John le Carre book. Is a typical, densely plotted, all over the world kind of political spy kind of book where there's
Yeah,
loads going on, but
yeah.
it's so good.
But yeah, but it's really the kind of book that are page turners that you read quite fast, no? Not
Well,
so much, or
the
quite
Grey
more
Man,
dense.
the Grey Man definitely was page turner,
Hmm.
super easy to read, like consumed it really quickly. Le
Yeah,
Carre's book, not so much. It was more
right.
intense and
Okay.
more like you had to think a bit more. It was, and it was really good, but it was like, what's going on? What's going on here? So it was, yeah. And June is a page turner, but just
No, you
big.
have to think about June. There's a lot going on.
Yeah, but it's big. So
Yeah.
I think that's why. I think I could have chosen shorter books. I do want to read Dresden Files. I think I would love it. We
Oh,
watched.
so fun. I really like it. It's so much fun.
We watched
It's
Die Hard.
really like really enjoyable.
We watched
Oh, we
Die Hard
watched,
for
yeah.
Christmas, and I've downloaded the book to read on which it's based, which is slightly different and darker.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, but I will get hold of the Dresden Files today and start. I'll probably start
We did
reading it today.
a Christmas weekend, and we watched Unaccompanied Minors. I'd never heard about it, but Katie, my girlfriend, is it's like one of her family
Who's in it?
Christmas movies. Louis, so it's a straight. I think it was a straight to DVD, but I've never heard of it before.
Have we talked about it
2006
before? Have we talked about this before?
comedy. Did we?
Maybe
I don't think so.
one of our mutual friends might have talked
I
about
only
it.
heard about it recently. I might have added it. I might have mentioned it in a chat, but I don't think so.
Who is it?
Louis
Isn't
Black is in it, the comedian, stand-up. There's a bunch of stand-up comedians in it, and it's a zany kids Christmas comedy, which is so bad it's good. I mean, it's pretty. That's it. While watching, I was like, "Wow, this is so bad it's good," and she was like, "Well, no, it's just good." I'm like, "Yeah, sure."
Yeah.
It's a bunch of kids who are traveling for Christmas by plane unaccompanied, and the airport through which they transit gets stuck in snow, and comedy ensues.
I think somebody else was talking about it.
It's possible.
One of our mutual friends, because it's not the first time I've heard about that film, and I'm definitely heard about it not from you.
Yeah, I don't think I've mentioned it. And then we watched Gremlins, which was I hadn't seen in a very, very long time.
Yes, what a film!
It's really good. It still holds up very, very well. I'd forgotten how some lines are so dark.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Some lines are very, very dark, and I'd forgotten some mythical scenes that I really loved, like the kitchen with the mother. Well, the mother, she goes and kills them in the blender and the microwave. Do you remember that?
Oh, vaguely.
Sorry,
Okay.
spoilers for anybody who hasn't watched Gremlins.
And if you haven't watched it, what are you doing?
Yeah. Anyway, there's a scene that I loved as a kid because it's kind of disgusting, where the mother is killing a bunch of gremlins with kitchen stuff. But I hadn't really paid attention before that she just goes and kills them. They don't attack her. She attacks them first. They're just they're just eating in the kitchen. And now, like, with the second look, I'm like, wow, this is actually really aggressive. They don't attack her. She just like destroys them, and not in any kind of gentle way, just straight in the blender and the microwave.
Well, it's that whole thing of the unknown evil. You assume it's an evil creature rather than just hungry.
They are. So they are-ish. Because they're just completely nuts. It's actually great. It's great how it plays with a lot of tropes from other movies, like horror movies, but it's not really a horror movie at all.
Yeah, it's that horror comedy thing, isn't it?
Yeah. Wait, did you end up seeing The Menu? Did you say you saw The Menu?
Oh my God, we saw it on Saturday.
So good, right?
What a good film.
Oh, it's so enjoyable.
The other thing, I'd heard about it from you.
Ahead, perhaps?
I'd heard about it from you, and then we sat down and we're watching, and I'm thinking, this is going to take a twist. I just know it. And there's a couple of bits in it where I was like, why have they done that? Okay, that's why they've done that. Something's going to happen. And then, yep, okay. There's at that point where it turns.
You know it's going to go wrong. And from the beginning, you're like, oh my God, how is this going to go wrong?
Yeah.
And then it goes wrong in an unexpected fashion. Yeah. You're like, wow, okay.
Also,
I was just like on the edge of my seat. Oh my God, what's going to happen next? But also very funny in the absurdist, complete craziness that it goes to. In a very serious, like it's taking itself very seriously in this complete, crazy, absurd way.
It's the other thing, I think you've mentioned this before, is that it doesn't do this whole stupid 2-hour exposition kind of ridiculousness that a lot of films do. It's clean, lean, well made. And it's definitely a film. It's not like a play on. It's a film, and it's an experience, and it's done very, very well. It's just so good.
Oh, it's really, really, really.
Davina loved it too. Okay, we were both like, "What?"
Yeah, absolutely. I was like, it's
really
dire. There are a few things that I did find very weird. That particularly one if we go into details of scenes, and sorry for anybody watching, this is going to be spoilery, so don't I don't know, it doesn't matter. Nobody watches this anyway. So, um, which is, so I loved everything. I love that she's not included in the whole craziness, so they don't know
Yeah.
what to do with her, which
Yeah.
is fantastic.
Yeah.
But then there's one scene that's a little bit weird is when she goes to the other house because he
Yeah.
sends her, which feels like, I mean, are you sending her away to find an excuse so that it fits your worldview? You're not sure. And he goes to her house. She goes to his house, the chef's house.
Yeah.
Right. And then the other, what's her, the hostess or
Elsa, is it Elsa?
The Asian lady basically comes after her and attacks her, which that was a little bit strange from a, you know, like you want to take my, and she starts telling her you want to take my place, and you're like, is she just nuts, or is something else going on that I don't understand, or you're just making this happen for?
Well, I thought it was
not sure what's going
barrel,
on. For us to be able
thing.
to see that's the barrel thing.
Yeah, I thought it was like because she says he never told her to get the barrel, so it was like, I don't know if there was some. He definitely found the woman who shouldn't have been there intriguing and wasn't like, and was trying to, you know, you're a fellow service industry person, so
That was amazing. The class struggle. You have to choose.
Yeah.
These things are important. What
Yeah.
do you mean? Do I die every way? Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
You choose whether you're one being served or you're the one serving. These things are important. It's so good.
What I want to know and what I haven't looked up is, what does he say to the guy after he doesn't cook and then he goes and hangs himself?
Oh my God, Tyler's bullshit. Did you love that course?
Yeah, but
Tyler's
I want to.
bullshit.
He says he says something to him though,
crazy.
and I want to know what he says. But okay, who knows? I like the fact that there are things that are on the edge of explainability. Like, how did they do that? And you just kind of go with it. Like having the guy out there with angel wings. Like, how? Okay, it doesn't really matter because they clearly thought of everything. It's just how they are in this world. It was really good.
Yeah.
Really good. I don't know how much rewatchability it has though. I think it might have
it doesn't
quite.
Really. No,
I don't know.
Very low.
And of course now,
bit like Usual Suspects.
No, I can rewatch The Usual Suspects. I love that. I have rewatched it quite a few times.
Actually, might be worth rewatching, but
because there's a lot of dialogue and a lot of interplay in that film that's really good.
That's true.
But I don't
know that it has a high rewatchability, the Menu, but the experience is so satisfying that
it is.
But also so messed up. It's really messed up.
Yeah, it is messed up. Capitalism, power, money, get you any, all of that whole thing. Have you heard of The Bear?
The Bear? No,
yeah,
I've not heard of that.
So I think it's an Apple Plus thing, but it's another similar kind of chef-based type film where it's only in the kitchen. Although when we were watching The Menu, I did lean over to Davina and say, "This is like some kind of twisted Ratatouille."
Yeah, it is.
It was
actually on that. Another movie. Have you seen Pig with Nicolas Cage?
Well, this is the other thing I was going to say to you. I need to watch that film now.
Oh yeah, you need to watch it. It's so good. It's another really good movie about the world of gastronomy and food. That also, similar to The Menu, plays with and confounds tropes and stereotypes of movie genres.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Pig in particular is like a, lone warrior vengeance style, Rambo style tropes, except they play around with that. It's not exactly that as a movie, but they play those tropes of action movies in a movie about food and gastronomy, basically, with a no plot whatsoever, but just fascinating tour in the world of this movie. The plot is, there's the old hermit guy living in the forest, has a pig, and somebody steals his truffle pig, and then he goes out to find it.
It sounds just so ridiculous. Yeah. I do really want to see that film.
It's really good.
Find it anywhere.
It's really good.
Well, I think it's only on Amazon, but you have to buy it rather than, you can't rent it.
Okay.
So I was like, I don't really want to buy it, but I might end up buying it just because I want to watch it, but we'll see. That
And for the first time this year, so this is quite an achievement. I have a few more I'd like to see that I'm watching. Every year, my brother-in-law, who's really, really into movies and really into thinking and talking and reviewing movies, likes to have a conversation about, what were your top movies of the year.
Oh, you watched loads of films this year, didn't you? You kept a list.
Yeah, and I'm never ready for that conversation. But this year,
and this time you're ready.
One, I tallied all the movies I watched, and I really made an effort to ask him what he thought was good. So we don't necessarily agree, but so that I would have enough movies of the year to have seen to be able to talk about it and have a top. So the menu is close to my top, but there's a few more I'd like to see, like the Banshees of Inisherin. That's supposed to be like really, really good. That you said it was really good.
Oh my God.
My sister and my brother-in-law just watched it this weekend, but it's not out of the cinema yet in France. So I don't know if it's coming out before the end of the year. So it's available out, for download. It seems apparently
so good.
But there's a few that are entering around his top or like that I agree with. So I just watched The Northman. Have you seen that?
Yeah, I've seen that. We saw that.
Pretty good. It's actually really not what I expected.
It's much more of a mythical epic thing than a stupid violent thing. There's a lot of kind of deep big themes going on here. Yeah,
and I thought it was going to be very much of like a war epic, but it's not really.
No.
There's, very violent scenes, but it's not really about just warring factions and stuff like that.
No, it's not. It's like an individual's journey through.
Yeah, and very mystical. There's like a bunch of mystical
I loved it.
Stuff. Yeah,
and
mystical, and which shows through in the filming, I guess.
So your brother-in-law liked that film?
Dialogues. Yeah, he said it was like among the movies that should be seen this year.
I did. Wow, I mean that's intriguing. I didn't think that because I did get very caught up in the mysticism and the story of it all. It was a bit hyper masculine, but it was good. And I did.
Oh, totally. That's the whole point, I think.
No, I suppose it was actually. It was, but it
part
was
of the point.
I like the headbutt kill.
Oh my God, that was crazy.
I did like that. I was like, okay, you're going to use your head as a blunt weapon. Cool.
Don't Look Up was part of that. The Matrix Resurrections.
Don't Look Up.
Yeah. It's a Netflix movie.
The comic film.
Comic.
Really
comic. Huh?
Comic.
Yeah.
The comic. Okay. Yeah. We watched that. Was that this year? Jesus.
Well, yeah, it just came out on the 1st of January. And I watched it immediately with my mom.
Yeah, that was good. The other thing that's interesting having this conversation for me is that films and music do link to particular times in my life, very much so. Even though I'm rewatching the films, and I thought Nope was really good. I
haven't seen it. He thought it was pretty good. My brother-in-law thought it was pretty good too. I haven't seen it. We talked about it a little bit.
What was interesting was we watched Nope, and then we saw Jaws in the cinema. And
right, was it playing again?
Yeah, it was, and the links between those two films. There's a lot more in those two films that are similar than people might realize. Although I think Nope is also about surveillance and fame as well, but really, really good, really good. I'm kind of want to do the same thing for 2023. List all the films.
Yeah, I want.
And we'll have this conversation.
I really like my lists. So I have 5 categories, and they're not all very well maintained. Because I have to probably reorganize 2 of my lists. Because one of my lists is very clear. It's stuff I read, basically books, graphic novels, etc.
Yeah.
The other one is TV shows and movies. And also listing it and thinking about it through the year.
It's a journal.
Had me keep in mind that I wanted to try to focus a little bit more on watching movies than TV series. So I still watched a number of TV series, but I watched purposely a little bit less and trying to do a little bit more movies this year. Then I
Mhm.
have another list that is about trips, entertaining, going out. But I have two different ones that they're a little bit mixed, muddled, and I
Okay.
forget to fill it all the time. And then my creating 2022. So just very briefly
Yeah.
looking at, I actually didn't write that much for the. I wrote a lot about and like the reflecting on 2021.
Mhm.
I said the overall theme of 2022 is getting shit done, perseverance with a dash of new, building habits that fulfill on wants, particularly recurring wants. My motto is never two without three, jamais deux sans trois, which is a French saying.
Oh yeah, I do
Uh,
remember you saying this now. Never two without
yeah,
three.
yeah. It's funny because my big new thing this year is I'm in a relationship that
Yeah.
started towards the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
That's really the big thing that happened this year for me. And work-wise, it's interesting because the perseverance is a good reminder right now, because honestly, in November, yeah, particularly November, and again now, I think just a little bit or a lot, depending, discouraged
Mm.
by having to just feeling like the wheel, the hamster wheel of having to look through contacts, not feeling like I'm getting enough results, feeling a bit frustrated about not being professionally as integrated and have recurrent revenue in a way that I would like.
Mhm.
And I finished the year with less than the last year. Um, uh, like right now, I'm in the midst, and it's part of the freelancing game. It goes up and down and feast and famine, and I'm in a bit of a famine situation right now. Now, I've had
Didn't
great, not food wise, because I've put on a lot
yeah.
of weight and I'm eating a lot and I'm going out, I'm having fun, I'm doing a lot of stuff. But I probably, I mean, I knew that I overdid it with theme parks and holidays around Halloween. And even just, well, 2 weeks ago, or last weekend, went for an awesome weekend away at a theme park for their winter event in Germany, which is
Oh
so much
yeah.
fun.
Oh,
It
you
was
said
so
you
much
couldn't do
fun.
that. Yeah.
It was so good. It's really good. It was really, really good. And it was a lot of fun. So not particularly reasonable from from a expense perspective. And I have total uncertainty about my income at the moment. So just to keep pressing through, making contacts and not having a lot of results of that.
Mhm.
So it feels like maybe I should do something different, but I'm not sure what. So yeah, that was a little bit
When you say
difficult.
do something different, you mean do something different to get clients?
Mhm.
Yeah, not like
Or
a
to
whole
get
different
money
career.
somehow.
Yeah. But you got your, didn't you get your master's thing confirmed as well?
Yeah, that's another
That's
big
quite a
thing
big
of the
thing.
year. I completed the process to get my master's degree this summer. So that took a little over a year. But really, I mean, took a little over a year since I started, but I started before that. So I mean, it's a little over a year, but anyhow, that's a big thing done.
It's an
That's
achievement,
great.
yeah.
It's an
Accomplishment.
achievement, certainly. And I've done really interesting and good work with interesting clients. But I had two regular things last year at the end of last year that I no longer have. I mean by that, I had one regular client with a regular monthly commitment
Oh,
and
okay,
the
right.
school,
Yep.
whereas this year I do not. And I purposefully took less school
Hmm.
commitments to focus more on my client work. And it's a mix between probably not having done enough new business contacts and enough work, enough writing, enough putting myself out there or something. But one way or another, I've worked on really interesting projects over the summer and September, and then October, November was fairly busy with school stuff, but less than before. But fairly busy because one course I've done for 3 years, but I changed a lot of stuff, and then another one that I started.
Yep.
And I have two quite important opportunities for new work. I'm hoping that I get one quote signed this week to get work done for work in January, which should be quite interesting, but it's not confirmed yet. which would really reassure me once that's signed, because I know it's coming. Because right now, like it's everything is stretched out from a financial standpoint. And I do finish the year on the. I feel like I'll have another think about reflecting and looking at new year. But this whole thing about persevering and my wanting to keep building and developing was meant partly was meant to be professional and revenue, to have
to take
more recurring
your
revenue, more
expertise
certainty,
and put it into a product and sell stuff and sell workshops and all that.
Yeah, which I didn't really do very much.
And what does never two without three mean?
Never two without three. So it's what it means in French. It means a thing that happens twice is going to happen a third time.
Right. That's what I thought it meant. Okay.
Where it comes from is not too sure, but it's a old saying, and it can be used for good or for bad. As in, like, good things can happen. If they happen twice, they can happen again, or bad things, same thing.
I'm pretty sure.
And I don't know. The only thing, so it was. It didn't mean anything, although it meant a lot. I usually like taking quite cryptic or weird sayings as mottos.
Yeah.
And then if something would happen again, I would go, oh yeah, never two without three. Let's just either try that again or do that again, or,
Theme parks. Never two without three.
Never two without three on theme parks. I did three this year.
That never two without three.
I did Disney a bunch of times, but I also went to Parc Astérix and to Fantasialand.
Yeah, you did, didn't you? Because that never two without three thing is in The Alchemist as an Arabic saying. If something happens,
is it?
Yeah, if something happens once, it's not going to happen again. If it happens twice, it's definitely going to happen again.
Mm-hmm.
So
how about you? Your year?
So we picked the theme Davina and I picked was creativity, opportunity, progress, and being at home wherever we are. And listening to you, like, there's a lot of stuff that's happened where I feel more the imposter syndrome that I've had bouncing around for me as a teacher, which is completely ridiculous anyway, I have evidence that it is actually rubbish. Because the getting the certification and then getting nominated as a fellow for the Chartered College of Teaching, like and doing a lot more writing and a bit more tweeting and being asked to do stuff at school, and all of that world of, I don't really know what I'm doing is not true. It really isn't true. The more I see teachers commenting on the state of teaching, the more I find myself going, oh, I agree with that, or I don't agree with that because this. I feel like I have some legitimacy to what I'm saying. And I think that might be something that I do that explore more next year. I just don't know what or how yet. But there's a definite shift in my experience of myself as a teacher. And even the most outrageous things that I do at school, everyone knows it's because I want the best for the people I teach. And I did a podcast episode this week with an ex-pupil who's not gone to uni and he's doing an apprenticeship. And actually, you should speak to him because he should speak to you because he's doing his apprenticeship in digital marketing, and he's interviewing. He's talking to interesting people about learning on the job and not having to go to university and learning a bit like your thing about putting yourself in the deep end. I don't know how you do it, but like he's that kind of guy. And when we were recording the whole episode, he said so many cool things to me about the things, my approach and the way I do things that I don't always appreciate at the time. So it's something that's definitely emerged, being at home, from making progress and exploring my creativity for sure. And then the other big area is we're doing Christmas at ours. And I think it's, and I think
how
it's
many
the
people are you
first.
hosting? Are you having?
we've hosted, so we've got 12 people, and we've hosted more than that before. We've had Easter at ours, my family plus the Venus family all together. I did a 20 question, 20 Easter egg hunt around the house with loads of little cryptic riddles and stuff, and that was great. But Christmas sit down meal we're doing with everybody is, for me, a big deal, for Davina a big deal, and I think I can't help but add loads of cool significant things to it as well and make it a big deal, which is kind of makes it nice. Like, it's the first Christmas that's not at someone of my parents' generation. It's the first Christmas where it's going to be like it's, for me, it's a handing on.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
I think it's a big deal, and and then I can't help but wonder, but if we had kids, would it have happened a lot sooner? Who knows? But I know that we're looking forward to it. We've got Davina, her brothers, our nephews, Davina's mum, my parents, one of my aunts, my sister, and we're all going to be sitting around, which means respecting the traditions, but also changing things around if we want. And that's the bit where I'm like, okay, well, it's our house. We can do what we want.
Yeah.
But
cool.
I'm very excited about that. And that's, I think, a culmination of how we've been with our families through the year. Suggesting it last year would have been out of this world. But somehow suggesting it this year just felt, my parents were like, yeah, sure. That sounds really good. And Davina's mum's like, yeah. So it's all beginning to happen. And then, of course, the logistics about, we have to get another table and then chairs, and everyone will just throw in, and like, it'll be great. I'm looking forward to it. I can't quite believe it's less than a week away though.
Yeah, it's crazy. It goes so fast. The years
completely crazy.
So fast.
And then,
so fast. And I have done a lot. I mean, also like you, it's interesting that you're talking about imposter syndrome, because I've had a bit of that experience as well lately. With the work stuff. Well, when I'm not having the results I want and the work I want, I have more time to muddle and worry and think about, like, maybe I'm done, or maybe I'm not the person. I was vexed. I saw an agency post a job that seemed to be perfect for me, and they didn't, I was like, I should get an interview for this, and they said no, which is just really quite vexing. Also feeling like it's the weight of a lot of time spent working by myself in my house.
That's something
I'd like to have a regular piece of work working with other people. So we'll see how that comes about, or if or how. But yeah, and it is about time I do formalize some of the stuff I've been talking about for years, which is, formalize a training workshop or sell a product.
There's that I think has to be the big opportunity for you, productizing yourself, and then having a revenue from it.
And that's it. So like sometimes I regularly worry about wanting to be known and acknowledged in the advertising and marketing communication professional environment and community, if you will, in Paris, and having the badge of having the right clients, the right kind of agency. And then at some other point, I'm like, well, I mean, I don't need that to prove that I have legitimacy, but I do worry about it. And there's also a side of me that's actually, in a way, gone past that, because I'm now too senior and expensive for them. And it's also part of my choices in terms of budget and lifestyle and work style to, I'm going to turn this around a different way. I think I'm quite known, if known at all. I don't have a big reputation, just internationally, not in Paris, because people don't know me here.
Oh, this was the thing about doing more in French,
for having a lot of work-life balance and prioritizing life over a lot of work, which is true. I have a lot of the stuff that I have in terms of achievements. While I do have some professional, the last few years I have a lot more about enjoying life. Now, I do cut it very thin, because I should make more money, and I should have somehow more certainty in what I'm doing, work-wise, having more regular income, having more regular work. So I'm always questioning whether I'm doing the right thing. Is it, out of sheer laziness because I don't want to work too many hours? Is it, I don't know. Is it just gonna, I don't, I'm not getting the right kind of traction because I'm not putting myself out there to the right kind of people. I'm not sure. So those are questions I had last year, and I have them again this year. I don't know, but I also they're recurring questions. I have them, as long as I'm going to keep doing this career as I do it, I'm probably those questions are going to circle back over and over again. I don't have them as much if I'm busy and working, but when I'm phase looking for new clients and looking for new stuff, I don't know. I don't have the right kind of answers. People are happy with my work when I get it done, so don't know.
Yeah,
Anyway,
I know what you mean. It might be the stage of life that we're at where we're thinking about what's the contribution we're making and how do I create value from it. That's always my similar thing.
yeah, that's also true. And
I
I'm
get
wondering
paid.
about.
I get paid with great compliments and young people saying, "Oh, you're really great," and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, well, I would like some prosperity too. I would like to be able to take care of my parents as they get older and take my nephews like to whatever, all of that kind of stuff. And thinking, because I'm doing a lot of thinking about money. I'm doing that training seminar about money and prosperity, and well, it's all conversations about money. I'm writing a history of family history of money. There's some very funny conversations with my aunt and uncle and my dad. Very, very funny about gold. So my grandmother's, my mum's maiden name is Dorado. So my dad was joking around saying, yeah, if you go to the ancestral home in Goa and you dig underneath, there'll be a load of gold because her name means gold. There'll be gold there. You have to go there and find it and dig all the gold. And my uncle just riffing off it as well, talking about, yeah, we had loads of money and then it got lost or something like that. Just the story. And there is always a conversation certainly with my family and Davina's family about the grandparents had this property in Goa. Who's going to inherit it? And like, how does it get split between all the kids? And is there going to be a big argument about it? And then one cousin wants to do this and an uncle wants to do that. And there's an argument and then all of this. And I'm just like, I don't want to be bothered with all of that. I don't want that. I want to respect my family's memory and get the story down, really. So and then another very funny conversation with my dad about what it means to be well off, if you're well off or not. And one of the key things is if you've paid off your mortgage, that automatically means you're well off. Regardless of any other kind of paradigm of owning an asset and profiting off the asset, or no, you're supposed to work hard for X number of years and then retire. That's how you do life. And you get a mortgage and you pay it off and then you're happy. Any other way of thinking about life, that's just, that's the box we're in. So really interesting to note. Yeah, exactly. To notice the edge of my own.
Well, you are following his thing then. I mean, you have a regular work, you own your house, paying your mortgage off.
It's true. And I'm so
you have a retirement
averse.
plan included in your work because you've been in the same job for how long?
19 years. It's true. Very true. And I'd love to do what the productizing my head, because people ask me, this is really good, you should do something with it. I'm like, okay, I don't know.
Well, people are really encouraging others to do that kind of stuff, but it's a long road to do it. It's very difficult.
It's just 10 years to be an overnight success. Everyone wants it now. The kids really want it now. I want it now. Can't be bothered. Well, then there's no shortcuts. You just have to keep going. So I don't know. Like, we'll see about next year. I like the creativity, and Davina she loves her job. She loves her job. She's fully engaged in her job and into it, and it means that we've had to rethink a lot about how we balance things around the house. And she's earning more than I am, which I don't really care about. But it's the partnership is awesome. I'm so grateful for that. How we are together.
Very cool.
It is really, really cool. So next year, I don't know. Like, I think it's going to be prosperity, reality, making it stuff real. My
Mhm.
health is great too. I'm in really good shape, and
I'm not in good shape. Not
really
in
happy.
bad
I'm really
shape,
happy with it.
but I should exercise and lose weight big time. And I'm going to have to make a massive effort to get through that because starting to not be very happy about it.
Because you were riding a bike, you were walking, and then you
Yeah,
stopped.
so I mean, I'm in probably reasonable good health aside from being overweight and a little bit overweight. Nothing too crazy, but I have enough of a belly that I'm not really happy about it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah.
And I know that I've not exercised enough to be ready for skiing, but I also don't have enough money to be booking ski holidays, which is also kind of depressing right now.
Skiing is massively physically demanding as well.
Yeah, it is, and it's also expensive. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
I make it relatively cheap, all things considered. Like I don't do very fancy skiing holidays. They're just really going out to ski. I'm probably still going to go, and there's still time to have to bring money in. You know, if the two quotes I have at the moment happen are good, but I have a lot of eggs in the same basket. It's the same person. I have one intermediary that brings me work, which is good. So I have at least one source of somebody that comes back to me and appreciates my work and introduces me to new clients. I need more of those because I have my eggs are in two different baskets right now, essentially. That intermediary type agency that works for freelancers and the school. I did have a couple of other jobs this year, but not enough. And like I don't. Yeah. Anyway, I know I'm hashing it like I'm just
Is it important
talking
to
about the
you?
same
Would
thing
you
over and over
love,
again.
because I think you and I have the same kind of dream, I don't know, goal, wish that we could create something that generates an income. Is that something that's important to you?
Yeah.
Because it's
Yeah, although, well, not yes, and because, well, presumably, apparently, not important enough to actually do it.
because say, and I don't mean like
It's not like
the
I don't
kid.
have time. I could have done this 10 times over, but
So the
this is the usual. I tend to overthink things, and or if I don't have a specific, like somebody expecting it from me, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, because the kids at school
My
talk a
excuse
lot
this year is
about.
the first part of the year was dedicated to finishing my master's degree.
Yeah.
And since the summer, then I had big family holidays, my brother turning 50. And then I started getting obsessed with theme parks. And I mean, there's one part of like the book
Obsessed is not
discussion, the fact
it's
that
not too strong. It's great. It is a description of.
the fact that I read a lot, that I've managed to read a lot of books and watch a lot of movies, says something about my time spent working, which is less than that. But I did write some articles. And I actually should write another one this week. I should write a sequel. I attended an advertising award ceremony at the
Yeah, I remember
beginning
you
of the
telling me
month,
about
which was
this.
really super interesting. And that was good in like remotivating me, but a bit of both on like there was all the top brass of advertising media in France, and I didn't know anybody, so it was it was both motivating because it was interesting to be a part of it, and it fed me material to write stuff and comments about the industry and tag people on LinkedIn, etc. So that very good. On the other hand, it was also making me think that, wait a minute, I'm completely not in that world at all. Ultimately, if I'm doing my job with people who appreciate it, it doesn't really matter. But there's also that part of me thinking, well, I should have that. I should be part of it to have more recognition
Yeah,
on my CV
yeah,
background. There's a
yeah.
little bit of that thing going on. And then wider, further thoughts with books I read and stuff like, reading about anarchism, wondering what else am I going to do with this? Because the work I'm doing now, I mean, I guess I could keep doing that my whole life, but eventually there's points where it's not so satisfying. I'm wondering about, creating my own business and not an agency business, because I have technically a business as a consultant, but something else. But that also is, I don't know how much of a pipe dream that is.
Yeah, I mean, I do
And I
get
mean
asked.
something else, like something that would sell a product or a service that
Yeah,
would be its own brand rather than being a
yeah,
consultant for something.
yeah. Yeah,
And two
it's
big ideas are probably either something related to food or something related to, could be
learning,
when I read
play,
Free to
school.
Learn. I really like, I read that book and I was like, I should create a school. For a
Mm.
couple of months, I was really thinking about creating a school. That could circle back as an idea, but so.
And a PhD.
Oh yeah, the idea of the PhD as well. So I haven't really done anything about that. Somebody recommended I contact some professors, and I haven't done that yet. Actually, it could be a project for this week. But yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff that happens. I didn't host that as many times this year that I did the last year, like entertaining at home, but it was nice to organize. That's part of the reason why I wanted to do a dinner yesterday, to do do something at home, which was nice. And I do host game nights, so I have a regular Dungeons and Dragons game that started like classic old school Dungeons and Dragons. Which is cool, but we were supposed to play every week and played once a month since October.
So you've played
But
twice,
three, four
times.
times,
Okay.
three times, sorry, 3 or 4, I think 4 times, 4 times since beginning of October for a weekly game. It's funny.
Yeah, well,
That's just we're all,
we're older, right?
we're older. Everybody's got stuff going on, and so that's just the way it goes from a scheduling standpoint. But I'm glad that particular thing has started. My role-playing game theory podcast that I participated in is at a indefinite pause.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's over. I had ambitions to think and redo my website, which I spent a little bit of time on in the summer and then didn't do anything about.
That would
I
be a
ended up
nice
being stuck.
kind of
I need to
holiday
change it.
project. That would
I need
be
to change it. Yeah,
I think
it
that would
could
be
be a fun
because
holiday project.
yeah, the web way people put their stuff online has really changed.
It has, and I was like, but or do I need to? What should I do with this website? I still have, and then I stopped thinking about it. I felt a bit stuck. I looked at it and I was like, do I really need to change anything, or what should I do with this? I'm not sure.
What's it built on?
It was funny. I had a sessions with students, workshops to talk about personal branding and LinkedIn and stuff like that, and working abroad because it was in English. And it was an event called the Professionalizing Day. So the students had a number of different kinds of workshops to attend about CV writing, interviewing, all sorts of stuff like that. So it's just an hour of fairly free form, informal questions and answers, talking about my career and like that. And it's funny, I showed them my LinkedIn and my website that had my long thing about ice cream.
Yeah.
To the students going, that's really long. I wouldn't read that. It's too long. I'm like, but it's so funny. So wait a minute. Would you just not read it because it's long? Yeah, I wouldn't read that. It's too long. But does it matter if you don't read it? And then I took it off of my LinkedIn because they really gave me a lot of doubt. I was like, wait a minute. On one hand, I'm like, well, it doesn't matter if it's long because you don't have to read it. You could just scan the rest of the LinkedIn profile to see what I've done and who I am. And if you're interested in reading my diatribe about ice cream, and have you read it?
Or is it on your LinkedIn?
It's not anymore, but it's on my website.
I've
It
read it
was
on
on
your
my
website.
LinkedIn. Huh?
I've read it on your website.
Yeah, you must
Pretty
have.
sure.
So it's just
Yeah.
like talking about what I believe in, essentially.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a statement about me and my business, sort of. So I thought it was interesting to just dump it on LinkedIn, but it made me think that I should probably review a bunch of stuff because I did redo my entire CV earlier this year, to make it shorter, more succinct, reorganized it. And
is it built in WordPress?
the
Or is it?
website?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a self-hosted WordPress.
Okay.
So the question on the website is it's slow loading. There's a bunch of errors. The theme is out of date. And and it's been 3 years now, so I should redo it. Actually, it's going to be 3 years, close to 4 actually, because I changed it early 2019. And actually, the design doesn't do a great job but none of the websites like this do anymore, of being able to go back and look at articles and blog posts and stuff like that. There's a big
What do you
question
mean?
about, like, should I do anything with my podcast? Because I've not done anything for a while. So should I pick that up? Should I? Could I? Would I? There's a big question as I wanted to change computer, and then I don't,
Yeah.
didn't have enough work to invest in a new computer, and decided to go to theme parks instead. Uh, I
I think
guess, I mean, that's what I did with my
it
money.
is a difficult question, like, personal branding and having your own website and all of that jazz.
But in my case, it's not just personal; it's professional, right?
Because you're, yeah,
The
who
difficult
knows?
one is I know, and I'm not really doing it, although I'm trying to put more efforts into it. Is I should really do more in French, but I
You,
kind of like just resisting that a little bit.
you've been a bit, you have posted, you were posting, you kind of got into a rhythm and it's been
Yeah,
very,
yeah, I'm trying to keep up that rhythm, but I know full well that, like, basically, some people are like, oh no, it's kind of international, but I know really that most of the French people read stuff in French, not in
mm,
English. For most people, it's a drag to read in a different language,
yeah, no, of course.
which makes sense. So really, to be developing more of a client network and more being here, I should technically do more in French, but I really like English. So anyway, but that's part of my weirdness for deciding to live in France, but operate like an international English person. I'm not the only one. There are a bunch of people who do
Yeah.
that, but so I quite like, and I'm in conversation. Actually, I should ping that person about doing a maternity leave cover.
Mm, I remember you
So that
saying.
would be a sizable chunk of time. And it's been 2 years. I'd like to find something like that. I had a couple of
Yeah,
opportunities
because
show
then
up, but
you'd
they
be
didn't pan
with
out.
people in a
I would
kind of
have a
working
fixed
something
time
together.
contract. I'd like to have work to respond to and not have to go find it,
Mm,
and have regular income for a few months, and have a team of people to work with. That'd be nice, I think, because it's been just a lot of time doing stuff by myself. And or perhaps, like, okay, the other question is, should I go and try to find a full-time job? But I'm getting no responses to full-time job possibilities. It's funny because that was one of the questions from the jury for my master's oral degree. The person asking, like, how come you don't have a full-time job with all the experience you have and who you are? Like, it sounds amazing. You should. I'm surprised that you don't. People would people would want to have you on board for whatever it is they're doing. So I didn't have an answer to that. So I just kind of like answered to the side and just blah, blah, blah completely, because really, the truth is nobody's offered me a full-time job, which didn't seem like an acceptable answer at an exam.
mm. Yeah, no, yeah, that makes sense. Do you
Or
think
maybe,
that?
possibly another reason is I don't really want to work very much.
Yeah, that old chestnut. Because
Yeah.
it does. I listening to you, I am beginning to think about next year. What do I want for next year?
But
Hey,
the further question on this kind of stuff about creating a business is also, what do I want for later, my future, or old age? I have nothing planned for retirement. Don't have a chunk of regular work behind me, as in employment with a pension, is what I mean. And do I want to stay in Paris? You know, I think no in the long run, but maybe. But also, what could I do to own a house? I don't know.
oh,
I'm
it's
hesitating between, like, looking a little bit further as for next year, because what's right in front of me for next year is, okay, well, you need to do the contacts, do the work, get money in,
mm,
and
mm,
kind of have the same plan as last year, which was to keep consolidating, keep living my life here. But actually, it's probably missing a wider, more ambitious. I don't know if about more ambitious is the right word, but something a little bit looking further out that would bring me in a bigger context than just, okay, well, I need to pay rent next month and for the rest of the year.
no, I think you're right. I think you're right, and because that bigger kind of purpose and context really, that's something that gets me going and
Yes.
keeps me running. It's important for me,
Yeah.
especially as in less than a year I'm going to be 47.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm turning 44.
Proper late
Double death,
40s.
double death number in the Chinese.
44, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
next summer.
Yeah, 44. I
Mhm.
remember when I was 44. 47 though. I can't believe it. I just, what? Mind you, my nephew's going to be 13 in a couple of months.
My
13,
my niece just turned
proper
13 this week. Last Monday.
proper
13.
teenager.
I was
Oh my
there. I was there
God.
at her birth,
Oh, wow.
just after her birth. Mm.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're it from a generation standpoint. As you said, you're now hosting. My brother and
Yes.
sister have been hosting for several years. Christmas.
Yeah. I like the way you said that, actually. We're it. From a
Mhm.
generation point of view, we are.
Which just feels weird to actually. What also feels weird is there's tons of politicians in power that are younger than I am.
Well, exactly. How old's Macron now?
41, maybe 42. I don't know. I think
Wow, that's young.
he's a year or two younger than I am.
And there he was at the World Cup.
I know, it was funny to see him. He looked almost human yesterday. I was laughing at the semifinals, looking at him. Like he just looks like he looks so much like a real human being. It's really uncanny.
Yeah,
He doesn't look very. He
no, he
looks
doesn't.
like
He looks like a
I'm
kind of
not a big fan.
mannequin or
Yeah, he
something,
does,
some kind
right?
of
He
puppet.
does.
He does.
Yeah.
I think he does. Plastering on the face. One of the commentators in English said
Mhm.
like something along the lines of, "There's Emmanuel Macron, typical politician, trying to get some of the spotlight for himself, take it off the players."
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, he was hoping France would win to have a little bit of popularity and people being happy and not really too worried about all the political problems going on.
Yeah.
There anyhow. But the game was amazing. Really good game. Did you
Well, I
watch
didn't
it?
watch. No, I didn't watch.
Oh,
Well, what happened was we were out for most of the kind of lunchtime afternoon, seeing Davina's friends at a really nice Taiwanese bao place called Daddy
nice.
Bao. It's food's so good there. And then we got in the car. Davina put it on her phone, and it was like 2-0. We knew it was 2-0. I was like, that's 2-0. 2-0. Like 70 minutes, whatever.
Oh, people were crying and like being so disheartened at the halftime in France. They were like, "Oh, it's over. We're done."
And
I'm
then by
like,
the time we got home, less than 10 minutes later, it was 2-2. Like, what the hell just happened?
yeah. And I missed the second goal. I was in the toilet. I was so pissed off.
That
Just
that second goal was
apparently, it
amazing.
was really
It was it
amazing.
was
Yeah.
because
The crowd
I
went nuts above me and
oh
everybody
yeah,
you yelling and stomping, and I'm like, oh, of course, I just missed it, and I'm
yeah.
peeing. I can't stop now. I missed it.
It was really good. It was really tense, really good, enjoyable. It's what you want in a football World Cup final.
Yeah, sad that it had to go to penalties because that's the sad thing. Once it goes to penalties, it's so cruel. Penalties are just cruel. It's so rough.
And that's relatively recent, I think, for World Cup
Which part?
finals. Going to penalties for a final. That never, I'm pretty
Oh,
sure
it hasn't happened for a
in the
while. I don't
past,
think.
but no, but I think as an actual rule, like, because it was,
Oh,
yeah,
no,
I
but
think
the
that's
rule
only in the last, I was going to say relatively recently, the last 30 years.
last.
It's
I
not
don't know that
recent.
it's very recent.
It's not recent.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. But yeah, very, very good game. Really good game.
It would have been interesting watching it in France as well.
Oh, France was crazy, and it was a bit stressful because I didn't have anybody to watch it, and I had that dinner later, so I wasn't sure. I thought maybe I'll just watch it at home on my own. It's a bit sad, but whatever. And then I called a friend who wanted to. He was like, "No, I want to be a part of it." So naively, we said, "Let's meet just 30 minutes before kickoff." But everything was packed,
Yeah,
so packed. People were like,
yeah,
"No, we've been full since 1 p.m. Like we can't." The
yeah.
kickoff was at 4. So we managed in the end to find a bar we could stand and just about see the screen, which was fine. But as I was walking over to meet him, bang on the center of Paris, which was super busy, there were giant queues. and like people, 10 people deep in front of bars trying to get a look at the screen that was inside. It was
Yep.
crazy.
The
So it was like, I think that was very naive to go just right now. And that was stressful to try to find a bar at the last minute, because the one I had in mind, we couldn't get in, to try
video
to
you
like go
sent me
one bar
made me
after
laugh.
another to try to, yeah, that was
Such
funny.
a great video. Such a great video. Really got the atmosphere of it.
Yeah, it was good. It was fun. It was fun. Aside from missed that goal, but yes, it was great. I think, yeah, it was good. It was really good. Very good game. It was good. Fun
I think
World
we
Cup.
should.
I watched a bunch of the games.
Yeah, I watched a few. I think that.
We should wrap up. No.
Yeah, I was going to say we'll wrap up, but I think we should
Yeah,
start
we should. It's late.
thinking about next year. This conversation has been really useful
Yeah.
for me.
No, it's really useful for me, because I'm really. I think had I as just really what I said. My first impetus is to think that I need to do the same thing this year. No, actually, I need to do something different. There needs to be some kind of bigger context, and I'm not sure what that is just yet.
And that's okay.
And
You can use the
ideally,
holiday
both
season to think about it.
conceptual and tangible.
Because
Ideally, perhaps.
I do think listening, just like the way you articulate ideas, the way you find ideas, you seem to have a never-ending wellspring of ideas that you should be more sought after.
Yeah, there's
running a workshop, I think the same about myself too. Like that, sometimes I've been helping Davina with some of the stuff she's been doing at work, and she'll ask me, what do I say? And then I'll go, why don't you say this? And just say a whole bunch of things off the top of my head. And she goes, how do you do that? How do you just sound so cool? I'm like, well, I make up as I go along. She, but how do you do that? I don't know. I just do it.
Yeah.
So there's definitely, I think,
there's so much I can
there's
bring
something
that I
for
forget
both of
that
us.
I value. Yeah.
There's something for both of us, being able to put across our value in a way that can be sold, for sure. For sure. Maybe you sell more than me, but I think, one thing that you sell, then go skiing every few months.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's the dream, or a dream, one of many.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. We'll keep playing.
Cool. Yeah, absolutely. Have a fantastic Christmas and
I will.
New Year. If I don't speak to you before then, I'll probably we'll see when we schedule the next one, but we can go off live, but
yeah,
early Jan would be great and maybe after I've done some work on creating the year, and just share what our thoughts are on that for next year.
Right. Enjoy Christmas too.
And by the way, our calls are still very much something that I value big time, and throughout the year. Really, really great to have them.